LeBron James is officially a 76er, the poly market war is already over, the championship odds are already changing, his jet is already on its way to Philly, and I already bought a jersey. Check this out. This is not a Jimmy Butler jersey. If I see one comment about this being a Jimmy Butler jersey, you're banned. But what does this mean for the NBA? First of all, the media needs to change because all of that fake buzz was horrendous. I mean, from the Heat literally faking a YouTube video premiere to the Cavs rolling out the Cleveland red carpet yet again, the Warriors making up the fact that they're pursuing AD for him, not knowing that AD was literally off limits, the Pacers poking their head in for whatever reason. But after all that, it turns out the only leak with actually any merit was the Zuri James being enrolled in a Philadelphia school leak. So, I mean, I guess at least some of it was true. So, what happens now? Well, LeBron took a huge pay cut, signed a 2-year, $8 million deal with a player option, and will be competing with 3 damn near MVP level players in what will be the final chapter of the process. But what is their ceiling? How long do they actually have with this LeBron and Brown and Embiid tandem? And will it be enough to take down not only the retooled Eastern Conference, but also the young looming giants out west who are primed to return to dominance? Is this finally the end of the decade-long process for the city of brotherly love, or is it just the final spark in outer space before the star dies? I've got the answer to that question and many more, but before we get into things, this video is sponsored by nobody. I have no sponsor again. But the best way you can support this channel is by subscribing, because every subscriber will immediately be entered into a giveaway for this LeBron jersey. I'll be giving away this LeBron jersey. It doesn't say Butler on the back, it says LeBron. So if you want to enter the giveaway, go ahead and subscribe below. Let's get into things.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
In this moment, with tears streaming down his face, Joel Embiid realized that his career would never be the same. In 2014, the Philadelphia 76ers selected Joel Embiid 3rd overall, and he instantly became the hope of the city, dubbed The Process. The years of tanking that led to him and the years of tanking shortly after due to his injuries were all to ensure that one day the prophecy would be fulfilled, the process would be complete, and Joel Embiid would hoist a championship trophy in a 76ers jersey. And so, although it took until 2016 for him to actually play his first game, and until a year later for him to finally team up with his injured co-star in Ben Simmons, it was years of uncertainty and loss that led into the 2017 season where he was finally teamed up with his 2 generational #1 overall pick teammates. Or so we thought. Markelle Fultz, to put it lightly, wasn't the same player he was in college and had completely lost his shot. Shout out J. Cole. He ended up being just another unlucky stroke to add to the canvas that was The Process. Yet, despite this, the 76ers would find a way to compete and eventually retool with their greatest rendition of the roster to date. On November 12th, 2018, the 76ers would send Robert Covington, Dario Saric, Jared Bayless, and a 2022 second-round pick over to the Minnesota Timberwolves to acquire the final piece of the process puzzle that they had been desperately needing all along. Justin Patton. And also Jimmy Butler too. They got Jimmy Butler in this trade. Yeah, so Jimmy Butler is here now, and with this new roster, they would make it the furthest they'd ever gone, sitting merely 1 game away from finally breaking into the conference finals, with the only thing standing in their way being Kawhi Leonard. Unfortunately for them, he was pretty damn good at standing in their way. But I mean, look on the bright side. They put up the best fight against the eventual champion Raptors team, who is still seen as one of the deepest teams of all time today. If they just stick together for 1 more season, then they can easily have the best chance to come out of the East and help even win the NBA championship. So all they needed to do was to extend Jimmy Butler and choose his contract over the much worse and less effective Tobias Harris, which was a no-brainer decision, right? Right? Yeah, so Jimmy's gone and the 76ers suck again. Okay, well, they didn't suck, but they were a lock for second-round exits pretty much every year. And to make matters worse, their generational talent in Ben Simmons forgot how to play basketball on the biggest stage yet. And although it seemed like Ben Simmons was on the worst contract in basketball, somehow some people still believed in him, namely the Brooklyn Nets GM, who was clearly just out of his mind during this early 2020s era. And so since they wanted to win in the playoffs, out goes Ben Simmons, who was a terrible playoff dropper, and in comes James Harden, who was a terrible playoff dropper. And although they never won anything, it wasn't all bad with Harden. Embiid would end up stat padding and winning a meaningless MVP, which was enough for Daryl Morey to finally go out and get him another huge co-star with another big flip. And so he made magic happen yet again, merging the process with the podcast. He went and got Paul George. You know, I mean, James Harden was a terrible playoff dropper, but so was Paul George. So I don't know really what the thought process was there. So Paul George is here now, and this was a horrible deal from the jump. And even though Paul George kind of returned to form in the final moments of his career as a Sixer, both him and Embiid were at the lowest value they'd been at in their entire careers. It would be impossible to flip their contracts for any sense of profit, and it seemed like only a matter of time before Philly bit the bullet, cut their losses, and traded whatever value was left of Embiid to finally move in a new direction. The Tyrese Maxey direction. But they'd have to keep Paul George because no team would be stupid enough to make one of the worst trades of all time involving Paul George, especially after seeing another team make one of the worst trades of all time involving Paul George. I mean, no one was going to make that mistake again. Hold on, I'm getting a call. Hey, what's up? The Celtics made one of the worst trades of all time involving Paul George? Yeah, so now Jaylen Brown is here off of his best season ever. Maxey is here off of his best season ever. VJ Edgecombe is here and even looks good in the playoffs. And to make things even better, Embiid is finally looking to be healthy during the regular season again. Everything is finally looking up again for the process, and it doesn't seem like it can get any better than this. Oh my God, hold on. Dude, what? I'm recording a video. LeBron? Yeah, so now LeBron is here, and it's time to look at what this actually means for the NBA. And for starters, there is not a better starting five in basketball. There just isn't. And if LeBron Philon can continue the unreal hot streak that young 76ers guards are on, then that bench unit is looking scary too. But the main concern here is health. If Embiid, who's a glass sculpture, and LeBron, who's a fossil, have any kind of injury concerns at any point in the postseason, this team is effectively finished. They will have zero rim protection to pair with their already lackluster spacing, and they will be bounced before the conference finals can even begin. And even though injuries are a likely outcome with this team, I think it's just not fun to judge a team's future based on the worst case scenario. And so assuming that everyone's healthy, can this team best the Giants that stand in their way? And I'm talking about teams with real repertoire. I'm talking about the Knicks, the Thunder, the Spurs, hell, even the Heat and Celtics, who have genuine superstars. And to be honest with you, I think the only question marks for Philly are the Spurs and the Heat. Now, do I think the Thunder are still dangerous? Yes. Do I think Jalen Williams coming back will truly elevate this team? Yes. But I also think losing a key piece like Lou Dort and more pressure being on Chet's shoulders to make a leap after his disastrous Western Conference Finals performance, they will have some growing pains and things to figure out, whilst the Spurs are going to continue to elevate. And as for the Heat, I just have no idea how this team is going to end up, but if I were to make a guess, I would say that Giannis's playmaking ability will significantly decrease out in Miami, not because he's no longer surrounded by shooters, but just because of the significant hearing loss that he's going to undergo for hearing just the massive backboard clanks every single practice and every single game, because this team cannot shoot a basketball. The Heat really just don't scare me at all, especially if I'm the 76ers, and so I don't want to book it now due to health concerns, but this team has a real chance at making it out of the East and finally completing the process. When the process first began, Ben Simmons was the #1 ranked high schooler in the country at Montverde, and when the process is finally coming to a close, Ben Simmons is a professional fisherman who hasn't dribbled in orange basketball in years. So much has gone wrong. So much has changed, but Philly fans need this, and LeBron could be the final piece of the process. And as for LeBron himself, this deal being a 2-year with a player option in my mind means that if things work out, he's got one more chance to reach MJ6. But if things blow up due to injury and this was a mistake, then the player option means it's back to Cleveland for a retirement tour. Regardless, I do believe that this is the final contract of LeBron James' career, and it will not be extended. After a quarter century in the NBA, he will retire as the greatest of all time. And now the only question that remains is, will he retire with 4 rings, complete the process and retire with 5 rings, or do the absolutely unthinkable and retire with 6 rings? I, for one, can't wait to find out. Subscribe, it's free.
Jack Hawk!
Will Preston! Subscribe to Strictly Sports!